Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to Nature Obscura, a podcast where nature and the supernatural collide. I'm Marissa.
And I'm Grace. Each week, we share spooky happenings from the great outdoors, from cryptids to curses, ghosts to witches, and everything in between.
While we may love a poltergeist, paranormal activity situation, that's not what we're here for. We're taking you around the globe to explore where nature and the supernatural intersect.
At the beginning of each episode, we'll briefly share any spooky or naturey encounters we've had over the past week before getting into the main story.
Grace, did you have any eerie or earthy encounters this week?
Yeah, I had an eerie one, and you'll really like this. So, James and I, we traveled back to Southern Illinois to visit my family. It's a 9-hour car ride, and we have a baby. But the night before we started our trip, I was looking out the window because I saw a moth. I love moths.
Of course.
So I look at it, and it's got these beady brown eyes, and it's huge. I was like, oh my God, James, come look at this moth. He comes over and he looks at the beady red eyes. And of course he's like, why are you making me look at a moth right before our trip? And I was like, oh my gosh,
what does that mean?
Man.
Oh.
Because there's this river that we have to cross over in Chicago, I-90 bridge over the Des Plaines River. It is not structurally sound. The Corps of Engineers said that this bridge is not suitable. They tried to get it shut down. There was a whole lawsuit with the state. And we have to travel over this bridge every time we go home and come back. And so we're immediately thinking that we're like, oh my gosh, we looked into this moth's eyes. And now we're going over this bridge. So, literally driving over the bridge, spoiler, we're fine. But driving over the bridge, I was literally oh my God, this is kind of scary. And then driving back, I was the same way. I was like, what if it happened right now? Because I listened to a podcast where it's a first-person story of a bridge collapsing, and it's so scary. Yeah, and it happened so fast. It's your stomach drops, right?
Ugh.
But yeah, I was just thinking of that the entire time we were going over the bridge. That might collapse at any moment.
Gosh.
So next time you look into a moth's beady red eyes, think about what you're doing.
Goodness. It would have been even crazier if you saw the same species of moth in Southern Illinois as you were making your trek back. It's
I did see a really cool moth. It wasn't the same species, but I did take a picture of it. I saw so many moths. I've seen so many moths recently.
I've seen no moths, so there's something to that. I mean,
Yeah.
You're fine. You passed the bridge. That's the scariest part, though, is that engineers are literally trying to get it shut down.
Yeah, for a while there was this big billboard right outside of the bridge, basically warning people.
I would never.
They commissioned a billboard warning people about the bridge. It was really freaky.
I'm not inherently scared of bridges. I'm not a person to be like, oh, what's your fear? It's bridges. But I have a respect for the catastrophe they could cause. Tell me if this is a thing. You might know, especially with listening to that podcast with the firsthand encounter. But I will at least roll my windows down whenever I'm crossing a bridge. Because if the bridge does fall and their windows are up and the vehicle is completely submerged, it's the water pressure. They can't open the door and they can't get out. Is that true? Do you know?
It sounds true because you just said it like it was, but I've never heard of that. And honestly,
that's what I've always told myself.
It's crazy that you do that every time you go over a bridge, but great.
You can't open the door
it makes
or
complete
roll
sense,
down the window because the electronics, I think. So
James and I keep one of those window breakers in our cars.
That's smart.
In an emergency situation, I don't think I'd be able to find it though.
I got one years ago. I put that in my car and I swear my car ate it. I never found it.
Just like the Ouija board.
I found the Ouija board. It's now just sitting in my backseat and I just see it every time I look behind me. And I'm wondering if I'm having a subconscious fear of bringing it inside because at this point it's getting a little ridiculous. I don't think I do. Maybe I'll bring it in tomorrow.
Marissa, it's April. We started this in January.
I know, and I think we started recording it in late November, so it genuinely has been 6 months.
What about you? Anything spooky or naturey for you?
Well, something a little spooky, not in the traditional sense, definitely naturey, but first with just the spooky thing, is the American healthcare system. I paid
Mhm.
Okay, I had to just get a prescription refill from my doctor, and she hasn't seen me in a minute. You have to come in to see me to get the refill. I'm like, "Okay, perfect." I had to pay out of pocket because I'm still canceling my insurance as a whole side point. Sorry, mother or father, if you're listening to this, I will have health insurance in July, it'll be okay. By the time they listen to this, it'll be, like, 2 more weeks, and I'll have insurance, it'll be fine. But she was in and out of the room within 6 minutes, didn't touch me, didn't look at anything. I had to pay $333.
God, that's as bad as the vet.
Like, I
The
know people
heck?
went to med school and, like, healthcare costs a lot, but I'm like, she just pressed a button that was like, "Yep, I'll give you a refill, bloop." So, for my spooky but naturey, we did bird banding the other week, which was super fun. I went again yesterday, and it was a lot of fun, but I wanted to do a lot more, like, research and studying over the winter on aging and sexing birds, which, yes, everyone's like, "How can you not age and sex a bird?" I can age and generally sex common birds, but these are looking at the primary covert, the 3rd one, or the marginal covert, or, oh, yes, after 2nd year, it has a buffy tip on this tiny region, and it's, like, really intense and intricate, and every time the bird bander, "Look at this. What is this?" I get it wrong because 'cause I'm like, "Bro, I don't know." I'm not retaining the information like I normally would because 'cause I'm just so busy with other stuff, and so I was like, "Okay, that's fine, though. I'm here now." He emailed me today saying, "Oh, and I'm gonna get you, starting to band and measure birds and age and sex them soon." Now I'm scared!
He thinks you're
Well,
ready.
but I've gotten, like, almost every question he's asked me wrong, so
That Marissa, that's not true. When I was there with you, you got at least one right.
at least
And
one.
Marissa, he's like, "Oh, I've only banded a couple hundred of these, and I'm still unsure." So, you know what? Give yourself a
That's
break.
true.
Even the
That's true.
experts are unsure sometimes.
That's true, but I'm just like, "Oh, I need to lock in." Like, I'm supposed to go there next Thursday, I'm like, I need to lock in."
Oh, there's
Hope
so many species too.
Yeah,
So many. And
for
there's only gonna
real.
be more as time goes on.
I was gonna say, speaking of birds, I can't tie in what we were just talking about into what we are going to be talking about, but the DNR has rangers, and the DNR is part of the bird banding efforts.
Mhm.
And we are gonna be talking about rangers today, actually, some very specific rangers,
Wow.
the Navajo Rangers, of the Navajo Nation, and some of the things that they have encountered,
Mhm. Mhm. And don't you guys worry, I will be talking about birds in this background section.
of course, always full circle.
The Navajo Nation refers to a people, a culture, a political entity, and a geographic area. Its indigenous peoples call themselves Diné, a name outsiders commonly render as Navajo. The Diné govern their own affairs and are recognized as the largest Native American tribe, numbering roughly 300,000 people, with more than half living on the Navajo reservation. A territory of about 26,000 square miles, which is roughly 17 million acres, that spans northeastern Arizona, northwestern New Mexico, southeastern Utah, and southwestern Colorado. Traditionally, the Navajo homeland lay between four sacred mountains, which I will be giving the traditional Diné names for. Sorry about the pronunciation, I'm trying my best. Cisnagini to the east, Tzotzil to the south, Dokoosliid to the west, and Debe Nitsa to the north. But today, their land lies to the south and west of that historic core and sits entirely on the Colorado Plateau. That plateau is a colorful landscape of gently uplifted flat-lying sedimentary rocks, sandstone and shale pinnacles, arches, and deep canyons carved from ancient Mesozoic deserts, river basins, and seashores. drained by the Colorado River and its tributaries, including the Green, San Juan, and Little Colorado rivers. In the mid-19th century, primarily during the 1860s, U.S. Army campaigns employing a scorched earth policy burned Navajo homes and fields and stole or killed livestock to enforce submission. In 1864, about 8,000 Navajo adults and children were marched some 300 miles on the Long Walk to imprisonment at Bosque Redondo. The 1868 treaty established the Navajo Indian Reservation and allowed the Navajo to leave Bosque Redondo for that territory. While I'm not delving deeply into the Navajo history here, the natural history of the Navajo Reservation and its fauna is compelling. Much of the information below comes from the Navajo Natural Heritage Program. The NNHP plays a vital role in safeguarding the ecological integrity of the Navajo Nation by managing a comprehensive data system dedicated to tracking rare and protected species. Because only a small portion of the nation's vast territory has been fully inventoried, the program serves as a critical hub for gathering essential biological intelligence, relying on a collaborative network of field experts, researchers, and public observations to keep its database current. This work is deeply necessary because the environment is constantly shifting, and maintaining an accurate Navajo endangered species list allows the tribe to monitor species at risk due to habitat loss, disease, or human impact. By documenting everything from taxonomic status to traditional cultural uses, the NNHP does more than just track numbers. It preserves the biological and cultural heritage of the land, ensuring that conservation decisions are backed by the best available science to protect the region's diverse inhabitants for future generations. Group 1 lists species and subspecies that no longer occur on the Navajo Nation, but did historically. Notably among these extirpated species are the gray wolf and the black-footed ferret. The gray wolf, once a widespread apex predator, was eliminated from much of the Southwest by predator control campaigns and habitat loss. Its absence has had cascading ecological effects. The black-footed ferret, one of North America's most endangered mammals, depends almost entirely on prairie dog colonies for food and shelter and suffered catastrophic declines due to habitat conversion, eradication of prairie dogs, and disease, notably the sylvatic plague. Others include the brown bear, bony-tailed fish, and the yellow lady slipper.
I didn't know we had ferrets native to the US. Did you?
I know, I didn't either. No, I learned so much. Group 2 contains species whose prospects of survival are in immediate jeopardy. True endangered species on the reservation. The bald eagle. Populations across the U.S. were once severely reduced by habitat loss and contaminants like DDT, but it remains a conservation priority in the Navajo lands, despite broad recovery efforts elsewhere. The northern leopard frog, a strikingly patterned amphibian, has experienced dramatic declines across the West from a combination of habitat degradation, water diversion, pollution, invasive species, and the chytrid fungal disease, which is just the worst. Its disappearance signals wider wetland and stream health problems. This group also includes imperiled fishes such as round-tailed chub and razorback sucker, and rare plants like the Mesa Verde cactus and the rhizome fleabane, each tied tightly to specific aquatic or cliffside microhabitats. Group 3 lists species likely to become jeopardized if currents trend to continue, like the pronghorn, which I was very disappointed in myself. I didn't even know the pronghorn lived in the U.S. Have you heard of that, Marissa?
I have never heard of that. I'm looking up a photo as we speak.
They're so beautiful and very unique.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen them before, but I thought they'd be, like, native to Africa or something. I wouldn't have expected this to be in the US.
No, me neither. And I feel like I've watched so many nature documentaries, and I've never seen a pronghorn. I think I've heard the name before, but I always
Right.
figured it was an African species
Yeah.
somewhere else.
A pronghorn antelope. They're gorgeous.
Yeah, they're an ungulate with a distinctive appearance, with males distinguished by a black patch on their cheeks and a dark mask on their snout. And they can top speeds of up to 60 miles per hour, and that's 97 kilometers per hour, capable of sustained high-speed runs across open country. And Marissa, a super duper fun fact for you. The pronghorn is the fastest animal over long distances in the world. So, unlike a cheetah, they have stamina. They can go 60 miles an hour just like a cheetah, but over, like, they can go way longer distances. Isn't that insane? How did we not know this fun fact?
I don't know, like, how did I not know these guys existed? How did I They have more stamina than a cheetah?
Yes, it's incredible. I love them so much, but they are vulnerable where migration routes and native grasslands are fragmented, which is really sad. I hope we get to see one day. Several raptors and other birds are of conservation concern here as well. The golden eagle, the ferruginous hawk, yellow-billed cuckoo, American dipper, and the Mexican spotted owl. Which is interesting also because we have the yellow-billed cuckoo here, and it's one of my favorite birds to see in the wild. Group 4 comprises species for which there is insufficient data to determine threatened or endangered status. They are data deficient rather than confirmed secure. This category on the Navajo reservation includes many bats, small mammals like voles and some rats, river otters, various snake species, snails, and numerous plant taxa, and about 17 bird species. The large number of data deficient taxa underscores gaps in survey coverage and monitoring across the reservation and highlights the need for continued community-led research and conservation. The Navajo Nation's conservation efforts are vital to the fragile ecosystems and communities that inhabit its lands. The Navajo Natural Heritage Program helps protect the landscape and preserve cultural connections while acting as a sanctuary for rare and at-risk species, working to ensure their survival amid changing climate conditions and ongoing human impacts.
I like the kinda angle you took. Conservation happens on a state level, maybe so more actively than on, like, a federal level. So just
Mhm.
wondering how it even differs from state to reservation.
No, I
Alright.
agree completely. It was very interesting learning about a different system of organizing endangered species by groups because even
Yeah.
animals that are of least concern are still of concern.
Mhm.
It might not be right now, maybe even 10 years in the future, it might be of concern.
Alright, so now we're gonna talk about the Navajo Nation Rangers, which do a whole variety of awesome and important things within their community, but some are assigned to investigate reports of paranormal activity on the reservation.
That's interesting. I love this.
I watched a documentary about 2 of the Navajo Nation Rangers, and they often would get asked, do they believe in Bigfoot, UFOs, witchcraft? Do you believe? One of them said, which I thought was really interesting and kind of poignant, and really set the tone for the documentary episode, was, quote, "We don't like to use the word believe because belief is an act of faith based on no evidence," end quote. So, basically, they imply they don't like to use the word believe because they have evidence that these things do exist based on things that they've witnessed and investigated within their reservation. So they don't feel it's right to say we believe, like we know these things are real.
I love that take on it. I've never heard it like that before.
In 2000, two Navajo Nation Rangers by the names of Stan Milford and John Dover, throwback to the Dover Demon episode, but not quite, were assigned to investigate reports of paranormal activity on the reservation. The paranormal investigations made up less than 1% of the cases the Navajo Rangers took on, but the cases they did take on were significant. The Navajo police provide public safety to the communities, while the Navajo Public Rangers provide for protection to the natural resources of natural areas and resources of the national services, more or less similar to the National Park Rangers. They often do work in remote areas doing search and rescue operations, fire evacuations, missing persons recoveries, and more. Founded in 1957, it had an exclusiveness to the group, the Navajo Rangers. Stan and John, in particular, formed a close bond, becoming so called adopted brothers, were co SWAT team investigators for back team operations. In 2000, everything changed. A complaint was lodged against the department for not investigating a reported Bigfoot case. After all, what other department would this fall under if not natural resources? You have a animal-like being causing havoc. In the National Park Rangers, there is no protocol or investigation for circumstances like these. After that complaint, the chief of the Navajo Rangers decided that any reports would be investigated, including paranormal or supernatural ones.
It'd be great if the US government did that.
I feel like we would know a lot more, and actually, I don't wanna I can go on a whole 'nother side tangent. I think that it'll make it my scary thing for next week. But speaking of that and hope wanting the US to investigate things, have you been hearing about all these scientists being mysteriously dead?
Yes, and they're finally looking into it.
Yeah. What's going on?
That's a government cover-up.
So Stan and John were chosen specifically for the role to investigate these paranormal, supernatural cases due to them growing up, quote, in both worlds. So they're part Navajo, but they didn't necessarily hold the traditional beliefs as they both originally grew up in areas outside of the Navajo reservation. Other rangers wouldn't go near these cases due to Navajo culture and the taboo of talking about these things. So, the first case the pair investigated was several Bigfoot encounters that occurred along the Navajo River. One witness described a person, and they thought that that person was originally hitchhiking, but it wasn't actually a person at all. It had incredibly long hair, this strange being, and they were terrified. A grandma then had called in reporting what her grandson had seen in that same exact area. Tall, long hair. The grandmother and grandson were, again, horrified. Numerous reports of sheep being killed, with wool being ripped off the sheep's backs, were also taking place in the area. After the duo investigated and talked to the witnesses, they began to develop a good understanding of what the creature would look like. The being was described between roughly 7 and 8 feet tall, built like a footback or foot blah 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 blah, built like a footballer or tank, very muscular with wide shoulders, very hairy, and with the smell of a wet dog. We've definitely heard that description before.
That sounds familiar.
One particular person was Brenda Harris, who reported the Bigfoot sightings. Brenda lived along the Navajo River and encountered the Bigfoot creatures not once, but several times. Home alone with her kids after her husband was working a midnight shift, Brenda heard something heavily walking along the porch when the doorknob started rattling. Brenda unlocked the door and swung the door open, seeing a black, hairy Bigfoot in front of her. The main difference, though, this creature was described as scrawny, not muscular like it had been in the past.
I thought you were gonna say this one had small feet.
This one was Smallfoot. After this initial encounter, it came back again about a half hour later. It would pace the porch, jingle the door knob, and leave. It continuously happened on and off until morning. That's gotta be miserable, constantly
She was
being
so
interrupted.
brave.
And she's home alone
Yeah.
with her kids, no sleep.
Wow. She's so brave.
She is.
I couldn't do it.
Mm-mm.
I would just give up.
Like, "Husband, you have to come home from your midnight shift, sorry."
Yeah.
Brenda didn't just have her encounter to rely on. It wasn't just a eyewitness report, which can, sometimes be flimsy without physical evidence. This, again, was not her case. They had found evidence of an 18-inch long footprint outside of her daughter's bedroom window.
It's fucking huge.
It's huge. It's
I just like
unnatural.
that's huge. That's
Too
also
big.
really scary.
Too big.
Ah, it's a clown foot.
It is.
There's no
It
way a person has a foot that big. 18
Probably not,
inches.
unless they were in those clown shoes. Brenda didn't just have this sighting, or the grandma, their grandson, or the one that called in before. Around 30 other people in the area reported similar activity. It seemed like it could be
Wow.
something. The Navajo Rangers took this report seriously and investigated appropriately. Other footprints they found revealed a 5-foot stride.
Excuse me? I'm 5'4".
One of the Navajo Rangers made a good point that if a normal human were to do a 5-foot stride, they would, like, have to do the splits.
Yeah. Even if you're really tall.
Yeah, even if you're 8 feet tall, I would imagine it'd be not 5 feet. I mean, I don't
But, like,
know.
a casual walk or, like, kind of, like, running almost, like or speed walking maybe? A speedwalk, do you take smaller steps on your
Maybe
speedwalk?
he was skipping. I feel like
He's
you can get
skipping.
wider strides with skipping,
Yeah.
and you can't tell the difference.
Bigfoot skipping in the woods.
That's kinda sweet, but
Yeah.
who knows? So, DNA was actually connected, including hair, to try and determine what visited Brenda's trailer home that night. The DNA's results came back, and
I'm on the edge of
okay,
my seat.
okay, and me trying to read my typos. Okay. The DNA results came back, and with a match, but not necessarily what you may expect. Too little, too vague, but in the right direction for Bigfoot. It was labeled as an unknown carnivore care. Nope. I work too much. I work too much. I meant the work too much. Sorry, that's a formula we feed at work.
Carnivore care. Oh my god.
Ah, it was
Just tell
labeled
me,
it was labeled as an unknown carnivore.
how do they know it's a carnivore?
Based on DNA, I don't know. Like, is there some sort of
That
I
doesn't
took genetics, but I don't understand how they know it's a carnivore.
I don't get that.
That is something I should have more done digging on. We'll accept it as fact and move along.
We
But
have to.
the DNA results indicated it was an unknown carnivore.
So, okay, does that mean Bigfoot's a carnivore?
I guess so, because in the past, we hypothesized it could have been like a vegetarian,
Yeah. Herbivore, maybe. Omnivore.
omnivore.
Well, if Bigfoot is a carnivore, that makes me even more scared, but I feel like they don't have the teeth to be a carnivore. I mean, not that we know what their teeth look like, but I doubt it. I don't believe this.
So it's strange that they weren't able to figure out exactly what type of animal this was, especially if it was showing that it was some sort of animal DNA, and the most they could link it to was some sort of carnivore animal, because the DNA database at this point is very extensive for animals, so it's just strange. Didn't come back as bear or anything else you may expect. Brenda, curious and concerned, set up a camera behind her house where she caught what she believed to be a small juvenile Bigfoot. She even caught strange vocalizations that the unknown creature made on recording.
But a juvenile Bigfoot has the big feet?
I think this is a second Bigfoot that she saw.
Okay.
I think Bigfoot has a
So
family and his teenagers are out hunting, and the strange vocalizations she caught are him trying to sound scary but going through puberty. Purely hypothesizing, I do not know. The Bigfoot that taunted Deborah that night had kept coming back. And this time, well, actually, I don't know though. You're right. Maybe it could be because they did say it was scrawny. And that honestly makes it more terrifying. A scrawny Bigfoot, but he still has a 5 foot wide stride
yeah,
and he
I
has
don't like
18-inch long footprints.
Hmm. I mean, but also what worries me even more is they say, like, more scrawny, older animals in the wild, like bears who have a hard time hunting, they sometimes will go after humans because they can't catch anything else. What if this Bigfoot is desperate for food?
I mean, it could be. So the Bigfoot that taunted Deborah kept coming back night after night. And it started a mess with her neighbor's property, actually, including causing significant damage to their horse corral. Brenda put a camera in that spot specifically and caught an outline of a tall figure along the camera. So, different than the small juvenile Bigfoot she had spotted before. So, there's not one, but multiple. In the meantime, Navajo investigators were tracking seemingly Bigfoot footprints for miles when the tracks suddenly disappeared with no explanation. So, this is where it gets kind of even weirder, if you could imagine. Apparently, there are reports of Bigfoot disappearing, like Bigfoot creatures disappearing out of nowhere, as if transported to a different area. And this is corroborated by the rangers who said the footprints would stop abruptly with no obvious way for them to not be spotted after. We're talking desert, middle of nowhere, rugged, rural terrain. It was as if they were taken right off of Earth. Coincidentally, there was also an increase of UFO sightings during the increase of Bigfoot sightings. A UFO case on Highway 4 occurred. A UFO beamed light in this area with a cluster of red and green light, with one news article even stating that a Navajo man was kidnapped by aliens. At the same time, Bigfoot reports were spotted right in this area days beforehand.
Oh my
So,
gosh. This is a correlation I've never thought of before.
is Bigfoot an alien?
Yes.
One anonymous interviewer discussed strange lights being seen along the Navajo sky. It is such a prevalent rumor that the town was mostly closed down. Very Hestalon Valley situation with different colored lights. If you haven't listened to that episode, go back, part 1 and 2. Put your tinfoil hats on. It's insane. At 1:30, the Navajo man was driving in the pitch black empty desert when he noticed a silent red light following oh, nope. When she noticed a silent red light following alongside her, described as a ball. When she made a turn, it turned into a white ball, very large in size, and she realized then it was following her. No other lights, people, animals, nothing. It followed her for a quarter mile when it suddenly shot forward about 500 feet and stopped completely still before shooting up into the sky and traversing across the sky like a shooting star.
It's so eerie.
I've driven in the desert. I think I've already talked about this before, but on the way to Area 51, and that was back and forth in the daylight, complete daylight, and just how isolated it is, even in broad daylight, has a eeriness to it. I can't imagine this happening at night and witnessing something like this. Because
Land, you're still in the middle of nowhere and you still have to you're with your thoughts and
right,
you have to deal with this by yourself.
exactly. The next morning, she woke up with a severe migraine, something she had never suffered from before in her life, unlike me. Genuinely shaken and scared, she reached out to a Navajo Ranger who inspected her car. What he found was truly shocking. When looking for magnetic anomalies, the ranger discovered two areas of intense magnetic attraction, one behind the driver's door on the panel and one by the passenger's door by the mirror. It was like a straight line between the two anomalies, directly in the path of the driver's seat. The ranger hypothesized that the light must have been scanning or detecting something while hovering alongside her for so long that it caused a physical symptom.
That's disgusting.
Did they just like
No.
x-ray her?
X-ray, just like all of the different types of scans all in one.
Ultrasound, MRI, all of it.
Yeah, I hate that. But also, what made them do a test with magnetic forces or like fields? It's so random.
It is, and that's a great question I don't know the answer to, and they actually didn't elaborate.
It's just standard practice at this point because they've seen it in the past, maybe.
They've investigated countless UFO sightings. So, one of actually the most notable was from a non-Navajo resident of the area. So, Satan's Butte was in the distance of this encounter. It's barren with no trees and is easily visible from where the resident lived. One night at dusk, when he was out feeding horses, a strange light in the sky caught his attention. Again, a few nights later, and in a similar spot, he saw the object again, described as a large ship this time with tendrils of light, almost like teardrops as they dropped to earth. And there was lights coming from inside the ship. They were described as red lights, and it was hovering above Satan's Butte. A week later, he saw it again and was actually able to get photos.
Is
And that
that
is
this photo?
the yeah, isn't that
Yeah, it's
weird?
actually just as you described. It's like this oddly shaped. It's an odd shaped orange thing blob with like teardrops kind of going down, and they're more white. And they were just hanging there, like they weren't being dropped. They were just hanging there.
Yeah, they were just hanging out there, and he was extremely weirded out. So he tried to talk to some of the Navajo people of the region, and they frankly were not surprised. He was taught by the Navajo Nation that there are things out there you just don't understand. Navajo history is embedded in supernatural and paranormal beliefs, dating back tens of thousands of years to times of petroglyphs showing depictions of UFOs and star people. However, it is often quite taboo to discuss such matters and is typically pretty hush hush. I think it's
Hmm.
more so kind of the vibe of saying it and talking about it is further going to make more things happen. It's best to just ignore it and move on. Maybe
Is
it's
it
about like
is it
attracting
kind of
energies.
like yeah. Is it kind of like taboo in our culture where it's like you shouldn't talk about like how much money you make?
Yeah,
Like that kind of taboo?
probably. The most terrifying and intense case, we're switching gears completely. All right, let's talk about skinwalkers.
Oh,
So, and we're gonna have to do a whole episode, probably many, on skinwalkers. They're absolutely terrifying. Have not covered them yet. Um, but the Navajo Nation Rangers actually have investigated cases of skinwalkers, a being that can shapeshift into a human or animal. Whatever they have the skin of, they can shapeshift into. There have been reports of them on the sides of the road. They often appear all white or blotchy as if painted, and they can run as fast as cars drive.
no, stop.
One Navajo ranger actually experienced a skinwalker himself as a teen. Before his career in enforcement, he went to the movies one night when something was running alongside his vehicle. It eventually jumped the fence and was heading towards his car. It ran alongside his car on the highway, only 3 to 4 feet away from him, keeping up
No.
with his car, speeding. It was white, with lots of canine like teeth, an elongated snout, and was large in size. It ran on all fours. When he locked eyes with it, he observed its eyes to be a fiery orange and were described as piercing. He floored his car and ran inside his house and told his father. His father calmly explained it was a skinwalker. The skinwalkers are described as dangerous and deadly, and that people that do the shapeshifting only do it to cause harm.
Oh god, that is so terrible. I've, like, purposefully not really done a lot of research into skinwalkers, like, I've heard a few podcasts here and there, but they didn't go into super depth, and what you just said scares me.
So, shapeshifters we know can cause harm, but a lot of other supernatural paranormal cases they investigate are also believed to cause harm in Navajo culture. Anna and John use forms of protection. It includes getting rid of negative energy by smudging, having obsidian arrowheads with them, and more. The last case is pretty brief. We'll talk about it briefly. It's paranormal activity in a building, which isn't our usual thing, but the building in question was at one time used as a morgue and had poltergeist like activity, including phones ringing constantly, moving things on its own, and hearing voices. The Navajo Rangers actually did an investigation of their own and heard male voices. There was also a whole thing with like a strange manipulation of coins. It's really weird, but basically the ghosts were presenting coins to them that were like hard to find. Very, very strange. Unfortunately, when the Navajo Rangers ended the investigation, they didn't leave alone. It traveled to one of the investigators' house, and the
No.
coin activity had followed him to his home.
He
Coins
just,
were
like,
falling
keeps
off.
fi he just
Yeah,
keeps
just keeps
finding
finding coins. I mean, hey, are they penny, like, right-sided up? Maybe they're just trying to give you good luck. Probably
right.
not. But coins were falling off from, like, the top of his door, and they suspected that the coins must have been coming from another dimension because they were literally appearing out of nowhere.
But, like, what kind of coins were they?
Just like standard coins,
Free money.
free money. I mean, throw in 100, throw in a 20. Like, let's start doing
You're
bills.
right. But, like, is that the worst thing, though? Where it's like, "Hey, the ghost is just trying to give you some money,"
Trying to
you
give
know?
me coins. Maybe Bigfoot's like, "Hey, he they tried really hard to catch me, they couldn't. Throw him a nickel," you know?
Right. What happened to the guy with the coins?
They just stopped eventually. So they with the whole otherworldly dimensions and things popping through, whether that's Bigfoot or coins, or if you're lucky, $100 bill or a lottery ticket winning millions. In Navajo culture, this actually stems like this acceptance stems from the emergence of Navajo people. The oral history of the Navajo people state that they emerged from several different worlds, where through a hole in the sky, they climbed into this world.
That's pretty
So
cool.
it's generally thought, what if those gates still exist and we just can't see them?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's so many correlations with it in that area specifically with things just appearing and disappearing and coins falling from nowhere and
Yeah.
yeah.
Why wouldn't it exist? I think it's really, really fascinating. Navajo Nation Rangers, they're not just protecting trees, classifying endangered and at-risk species. They're also searching for Bigfoot and checking out your paranormal activity. Now that's a job I could sign up for. That's like a dream job. Why don't our DNR do that?
Yeah, it's like it could be a whole 'nother, like, little branch.
Yeah, I'm jealous. It's like conservation, but paranormal stuff at the same time. That's so cool. Well, and now I'm wondering how many reports and calls do they get that could be classified as supernatural? How many campers are calling frightened of unexplained things like happening in the forest that they're getting calls about? That they're just logging as like, possible disturbance, blah, blah, blah. Never saw a person.
Mhm.
Again, I'm thinking of Blair Witch. I always circle back to Blair Witch or like Big Feet or any like sort of cryptid or abnormality. Like,
It gets me thinking, and I know I mentioned this briefly in the Bigfoot episode, about how people who randomly go missing in the woods or like these two wilderness people were very prepared and then they just left their cabin without their weapons and found dead. It could have been a Bigfoot or it could have been some other kind of creature, aliens, we never know. And we're never going to get answers.
that is the exact type of case that I feel like in conjunction with like the police force the Navajo Nation has, the Navajo Rangers would also have been involved with that well and might have been able to get more answers.
Yeah. I mean, like, just unexplained cases could actually be explained if the task force changed their perspective on what actually happened?
Definitely. And I feel like that's something we talked about before where other cultures are a lot more comfortable in areas of the world, are a lot more comfortable accepting and acknowledging that there's some things that are unexplained. There can be supernatural things and taking it seriously, where I think it actually has a real benefit to it. And it might allow them to solve more things instead of just, saying, oh, can't explain it by science. It didn't happen, or it's
Yeah,
something else. But
for sure.
did you want to do the scare scale?
Pick your own scenario and then think of the scare scale like this: 1 is mildly unsettling, 5, a good spooky campfire story, 10, the kind of scary that has you questioning your very existence.
Okay.
Go.
I feel like I resonated with the anonymous interviewer's encounter with that strange light in the dark in the desert. I felt like I was really able to put myself in her shoes and I would be terrified. 9 out of 10. What about you?
My brain immediately went to the Bigfoot on the woman's porch, on
Agreed.
Brenda's porch. So scary. And how she was so brave. She just opened the door and was like looking around. I would have been cowering in my bathroom with the door locked
For
and
real.
like some kind of lamp or something to hit it with if it came in?
Yeah.
10 out of 10. So scary. But then also the skinwalker one, it's off the
I want nothing to
charts.
do with that. Right. No, that's a 300 out of 10. I would not have lived to do the scare scale.
You said that he like ran inside. I wouldn't have left my car. I wouldn't have made it that far. Like, I don't think I could have moved. There we have it, everyone. What's your scare scale? Tell us. Email us. What do you think of these stories? How would you react?
Yes, we have to hear it. Thank you so much for listening to this week of Nature Obscura. Make sure to rate and review wherever you're listening from and tell a friend about us.
Stay obscure, Earthlings.
Transmission ending.